Welcome to the Breakup Recovery Podcasts by your host, Barbara Stevens. Discover the wisdom and remarkable insights of Barbara Stevens, breakup recovery mentor, author, and public speaker. Barbara offers programs and solutions for any breakup so you can turn your life around, create lasting changes for the better, and embrace life again.
Hello and welcome to Breakup Recovery Podcast. I'm Barbara Stevens and I'm a breakup recovery mentor. And in this episode, I welcome back Julia Hasche. So welcome back, Julia.
Hi, Barbara. Thanks so much for having me again.
The last time you came on to Breakup Recovery Podcast, we talked about your breakup and you told us your relationship breakup story of how you found out you were pregnant at around the same time that you realised that the father of your beautiful daughter wasn't such a good match for you after all. And this is episode 075, which came out on the 5th of April, how Julia left a controlling partner when she was pregnant. During that interview, Julia, we really didn't get to talk about the work that you do, about your blog and your podcast, which is called Single Mother Survival Guide. So, Julia, let's start with your podcast. What is your podcast all about and what can people expect when they listen to it?
My podcast is basically a podcast for single mums made by me, a single mum, but it's also actually for parents in general. And it's also, I have a lot of listeners who are single dads, funnily enough. So it's basically, there's a whole lot of different interviews and some of them are me just talking about single mums business. And then there's interviews and then there's discussions with different people about different topics and things like that. So some of the episodes that I've had are like, interviewed a wills and estate lawyer for about single mums and how it's important to get our wills updated and what are the sort of things to think about. The other interviews are like I've done an interview with a financial advisor in terms of insurances that are quite beneficial to get as a single mother. I've interviewed a guy about what it's like dating a single mother. I've interviewed quite a couple of domestic violence survivors and advocates. So one was a sort of physical domestic violence situation. One was an emotional domestic violence situation. And then there's also some really inspirational people that I've interviewed, like Kylie Travis, who basically went from being a homeless single mother in a very severe domestic violence abusive relationship, and now she's an international award-winning CEO. So, and I've also interviewed Taria Pitt, which was basically that interview was about not getting into that sort of victim mentality of life, because I think a lot of single mums, it's very easy to sort of think like, oh, life didn't turn out that great for me, poor me, like, I could do this, but I'm a single mum, so it's too hard, and had a really great chat with Taria Pitt about how to sort of get out of that mindset. There's one about sort of creating a happier and less stressed life with Angela Council. There's recently I've actually done quite a few regarding sex, dating and relationships. So I've interviewed a sex therapist about relaunching a sex life as a single mother. I've interviewed a sexologist and we've got a whole range of interviews coming up this year, all sort of sex related. And then there's a dating expert from Australia that I interviewed and a relationship expert, and that's coming out this week from America. And then the rest of them, I've also interviewed Dr. Justin Coulson, who's a parenting expert, and his sort of take on helping children through a separation. And then there's another really great inspirational story, which I was just so stoked to talk to this woman. Her name is Joanna Byrne, and she's got 7 children. She's a single mother, and she was a florist, and she started doing a law degree when her oldest son got in trouble with the law, and she was trying to get him out of sort of jail basically. And anyway, she succeeded. And this lawyer that she sort of engaged to help her said, you should really rethink being a florist and become a lawyer. The work that you've done for me is just absolutely amazing. And so she did. She decided to go and study law. And then right after her first year, her husband sadly passed away very unexpectedly. And she was left working full-time, still as a florist. Well, she had to work full-time then because she didn't have a choice. And then she was doing her law degree full-time, and she had 7 children. I just think it's absolutely amazing. And it just goes to show that, you really can you really can achieve anything you want. It takes hard work and the right sort of mindset, I think. A lot of the other interviews are just me talking about things to do with being a single mum, like what to think about as a single mother when you're starting a new relationship, knowing when it's time to move on from your relationship, because I have a lot of women listen to this that are thinking about possibly leaving their partner and they're not sure. It's such a big decision. My tips on how to break the news of your separation to your children, things to consider regarding sort of parenting plans in preparation for mediation. What else have I done? Why being a single mum is amazing, because I think it is really great. And just sort of other things like why you should, why it's beneficial to become friends with other single mums. And a couple of the other ones that I forgot to mention that were really good was online security for single mums, which is really, really important. And I think everybody should listen to that episode if they are separated, mums or not, because there's just so much information available on the internet, and it's really important to just make sure that you are being secure online. Yeah, that was really good. And then there's loads. I could go on for a while, actually. But I've interviewed some really great women. I'm just so proud of every single one of them for sharing their story. And one woman came on and she shared her story about becoming a single mother by choice, which a lot of people do these days. So that was really interesting. So, it's really great.
There are so many challenges facing both single mums and single dads after a breakup. So what would be some of the most common questions a single mum or dad are asking themselves?
Well, the first thing they probably think about is, what the heck am I supposed to do now? Like, life as you know it is about to drastically change. So, some of the immediate things are things like, where am I going to live? How am I going to provide for my family? A lot of the mothers haven't been working for a long time. They've been raising children, and then suddenly they're in a situation where they have to start work. And, so they're thinking, how am I going to bring an income in? How am I going to support my children? How am I going to, this sort of Centrelink assistance that is available for those in Australia or, welfare in other countries. Child support, getting that ball rolling in terms of child support. Do I have to go to court? Everyone's there's so many questions that come up, and that's why I think it's so great to surround yourself with other single mothers, because they've been there. And then, getting back into dating, that's a whole new thing as a parent. Dating as a single parent is a whole new ball game. Do I say that I have a child? Do I not say it? When do I say it? How do I bring that up? And then you can't just drop everything whenever you want and just start, I'm going to and pre-planning to go on a date. So there's a lot of things that come up, and that's why I think it is so great. Surround ourselves with other single parents, because you do get an insight and you do learn from other single mothers who are a bit ahead of you in time.
So what you're saying is a support group is very important for single parents to feel that the challenges that they're faced with don't become too overwhelming.
Absolutely. And I think one of the other huge benefits is because, especially for young children, it's really hard. There's no normal family unit these days. Everybody is different. Some people have a family with one mum only, or one dad only, or two mums, two dads, a mum and dad who live together, a mum and dad who are married, a mum and dad who are separated or divorced, single mothers by choice. There's so many different family units these days. And a lot of single mothers worry that their kids are going to feel disadvantaged, or that their kids won't understand why their parents aren't together anymore. And for my daughter, I'm just so pleased that she has so many friends that have sort of make up different family units, but especially those that are like me, like single mother mainly. My daughter's with me pretty much 100% of the time. So for her, it's very normal. She doesn't feel like she's missing out or that she's disadvantaged, because she has so many friends in exactly the same situation as her. So it's normalised it for her a bit more.
Yes, because there is no normal anymore, is there, Julia?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's different. And but I think definitely get yourself involved in a single mother's group or a single father's group if you're a guy, or a single parent group. It's just I think the support you can get from there, it's amazing. So I definitely encourage everybody to do that.
I guess as single parents after a separation or divorce, the family unit is broken, so to speak. The children aren't living with both parents. And as parents, we just want our children to be well balanced. And I guess our concerns are, is my child going to be okay not living with their mum or not living with their dad? So what do you say to those parents that have those concerns?
Those thoughts are so completely normal. And the thing is, a lot of people get so scared about separating from their spouse or their partner because they don't want their child to be sort of feeling like that. But it is so much better for children to be raised in a happy, healthy home rather than in a home that is negative and toxic and really unhealthy. It's not normal for children. So many single mothers that I know, like their children are calling them names because that's what they think is normal because they've been hearing that between their parents. So it's so much better for children to be raised in a happy, healthy home. And if that's in two homes, then that is fine. That is so much better than being in one home that's really toxic and unhealthy. You don't want your children growing up thinking that normal behavior is screaming at each other or completely ignoring each other. That's not normal, and you are being their role model. So whatever they see, they're going to think is sort of normal. So it's really up to us to provide them with an environment that is healthy and not going to impact them in a negative way. Even if one parent is not that actively involved, all the research says that children will be fine, so long as they have one really loving, caring parent, they'll be fine. Like, of course, it's ideal if both parents are involved, but sometimes that can't be the case. A lot of people just sort of disappear out of the picture, and it's awful, but you can't beat yourself up about it because you can't control what other people do. So if you are just one loving, caring parent, your children will be absolutely fine.
And I guess as single parents, we try to be Superman or Superwoman, and we can run ourselves into the ground being everything for everybody. So
yeah.
I think there is an argument to be said that a single parent needs to find time for themselves to be able to recharge in some way so that they can bring up their children in a way that they want to, that's healthy, that's loving, that's a family environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Me time is just so important. It's, important for our physical health. It's important for our mental health. And it's hard. It's really hard as a single parent to fit that in. And you really have to try and schedule it in, particularly if you have your children almost 100% of the time or 100% of the time. It's hard. And, if you're sharing care with the other parent, then use that time that you have away from your kids to do some me time stuff. Like, don't just rush around like a crazy person trying to clean the house and get everything ready for the next week. And, really take some time out for yourself because you really, really need to do that. And for those that don't have that, like do have their children all the time, you really have to lean on other people to help you out, and you really have to ask for help because other people aren't going to know otherwise. So if you have family around you that you can ask, just ask them. This is another benefit of meeting other single parents because, I do so many sort of babysitting swaps with my single mother friends, and it's just great, and all our children are friends. It's wonderful. Or, if you're working, you can get up from your desk at lunch and go for a walk or join a gym and go to the gym at lunchtime or do something for you. You absolutely need it. You're going to just get so run down otherwise.
Julia, if people want to find out more about what you do and what you offer, more about your blogs and your podcast, where can they find this information?
Yeah, they can just go to www.singlemothersurvivalguide.com, and there's information there about my blog, my podcast, and information there for new single parents. And they can contact me through social media. They can find all that as well on that website.
Thank you, Julia, for coming back onto Breakup Recovery podcast and sharing information on your podcast and answering some of the most common questions single parents ask themselves after they've had a divorce, separation or breakup.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope this episode, number 092, Tips for the Single Parent with Julia Hasche from Single Mother Survival Guide, has been helpful in some way. I've put Julia's website details in the summary of this podcast, so you can visit her site and listen to her podcast, Single Mother Survival Guide. But if you are still struggling to get over your breakup and feel that you need some assistance and would possibly like to work with me one-on-one, then contact me via my website, barbarastevens.com.au, or message me on my Facebook page, Barbara Stevens Breakup Recovery Mentor. If you found some value from this episode and know someone else who would also find Breakup Recovery podcast useful, then please share the podcast with them. All the episodes are available on my website, iTunes, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. If you'd like to help me in a financial way, you can support this podcast on Patreon. If you think it's worth $1 every episode or $1 every month, whatever you feel you can afford, I'm grateful for any amount of money you pledge because every little bit helps. So why not head on to my Patreon page and take a look? The link to that would be www.patreon.com/breakuprecovery. No contribution is too small, and I appreciate your support so that I can improve Breakup Recovery podcasts. If you have any questions or suggestions or just want to email me, then all my details are on my website. And the last thing I'd like to say is, be gentle on yourself. You deserve happiness.
If you would like to hear previous Breakup Recovery podcasts, visit barbarastevens.com.au. Connect with Barbara Stevens on social media with Barbara Stevens Breakup Recovery Mentor on Facebook and at You'll Be Okay on Twitter. Read further blogs, view webinar replays, and download your free ebook, 3 Easy Steps to Surviving Your Breakup, and much more at barbarastevens.com.au.